I'm Joel Williams, and you're listening to All Things Photonics. Without a doubt, one of the most exciting technologies currently being commercialized in the photonic space is the Metalens. In case you're not familiar, Metalenses are flat, lightweight optical components that manipulate light with tiny structures on their surface. They're able to replace traditional glass lenses in a lot of applications, making imaging systems lighter and more compact. A system that might have had a stack of 6 glass lenses could utilize a single metal lens in its place. One of the most exciting companies working in this space is Myrias Optics, a spinout from James Watkins' lab at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Watkins, who serves as director of the Institute for Hierarchical Manufacturing and professor of polymer science and engineering, along with his team, have developed a way to mass produce metal lenses using nano imprint lithography. In today's episode, we'll speak with Myrias Optics CEO John Fijol. The conversation covers some of the immediate applications, some that are a little bit further off, and the timeline to scaled manufacturing. That conversation is up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Hamamatsu Corporation, a leading manufacturer of devices for the generation and measurement of infrared, visible, UV light, and X-rays. Hamamatsu is dedicated to the advancement of photonics through extensive research and offers specialized systems for select applications. Visit hamamatsu.com to learn more.
From Photonics Media, this is All Things Photonics, a podcast where we explore industry-shaping advancements in lasers, optics, imaging, metrology, and sensing. Each episode, we'll speak with some of the brightest minds in industry and research about the trends shaping the landscape of photonics. Now, can you tell us about the manufacturability problem that we're seeing with AR smart glasses? And how is Myrias Optics addressing that?
Yeah, good question, and one that we're clearly highly focused on. I think to understand a manufacturing problem, you first need to understand a couple of the critical parameters that revolve around the performance and manufacturability of waveguides. And in particular, we're focused in on surface relief grating waveguides, which are the mainstream designs being used today. On the performance side, one of the most important parameters is the refractive index of the material that's being used. And then on the scalability side, the size of the substrate and the number of devices that you can get per substrate is one of the critical parameters in terms of the economy of scale. So what we're seeing in manufacturing is there are different approaches to make SRG waveguides. On the low performance end is polymer nanoimprinting. This is a scalable process. It's cost effective, but the addition of the polymer limits both the refractive index and the reliability of the devices. On the high-end performance side is using semiconductor processing techniques, including photolithography and etch. And this allows you to etch into high refractive index materials, but this is a slow and expensive process. So it's really getting a high performance and cost effective approach to make SRG waveguides. And we've heard this from industry OEMs that if the price points can come down, then there'll be a direct scaling in the volume of devices that they can sell. So that's what Myrias is addressing, is a process that sits in the middle. It uses all the advantages of nanoimprinting in terms of scalability and cost, but provides the same high performance that you get with etching.
Excellent. Now, you've already sort of touched on this, but what can you tell us about your company's technology and how does it differ from polymer nanoimprint lithography? And what kind of performance can you get out of it?
Yeah, again, very good question. In terms of the material differences, we are commercializing what we call an additive all inorganic nanoimprinting. And there's a lot of words in there, but it's descriptive of what the process can do. First, it's additive. So just like polymer nanoimprinting, we create the entire waveguide structure in one step. So we spin on a material, we press a stamp into that material, and it creates a 3D surface relief grating on a flat substrate. So it's fast, effective, and you really only need one tool to manufacture that waveguide. The all inorganic part of what we do is we remove the polymer. So we are a direct drop-in replacement for polymer nanoimprinting. We can go into the installed base of tools that are already being used, convert them within 1 day to imprint our material. But because we remove the polymers and use a unique formulation, the end device is all inorganic. This is robust materials that can withstand the same temperature, humidity, UV exposure as the underlying substrates, which are typically glass. So now you have the high reliability and the scalable manufacturing. The other advantage is when we take the polymer out, that polymer has a low refractive index. Our material is all inorganic, which has a higher refractive index, and that's where we get the performance advantages.
Now, can you tell us about some of the potential applications for this technology?
Yeah, sure. We've already touched on air waveguides, and that's certainly a large market opportunity for Myrias. We have a very strong customer base, and in that model, we can talk about it a bit more. We partner with some of the large contract manufacturers that have been supplying that industry for a while. Um, but an adjacent technology are other types of what we call flat optics, which include meta optics and diffractive optics. And these are simply optics that are made on flat wafers, just like the AR waveguides. And they replace conventional refractive optics. In a refractive optic, these devices are built by shaping glass or plastic. You can think about your magnifying glass when you were a kid that has that thick shaped piece of glass, and while they work well and have been around for centuries, um, they're heavy, large, bulky, and typically require many lenses to create a sophisticated optical sensor or imaging system. With flat optics or meta optics, we can create, using diffraction instead of refraction, we can create the optical functions in a very thin layer, often a micron thick. Uh, so very, very thin, and we can design in the functionality of multiple conventional optics into one optic. So in addition to the optic itself being significantly thinner, we can usually take a optical stack, which might include 4 or 6 lenses, and compress it down into a single lens. And this is a huge advantage for consumer electronics, which is, again, the same area or same markets as air waveguides, but would also include cell phones, laptops, and other types of devices. But those advantages in sensors and imaging systems also apply to automotive or robotics or industrial and even into medical applications. So this is a great area for us. Folks are starting to refer to a lot of this as physical AI. These sensors and imaging systems allow AI to see the world around them and be more efficient. But the other part of physical AI that's extremely exciting to us is in the data centers themselves. So data centers now are 75% of the communications are optical based, and they still do not meet the requirements in terms of bandwidth and reliability that next generation data centers need. So advanced optics are a very exciting and high growth area for us. And within that, there is a necessity for the industry to change from the current plug and play optics, which are mainstream, to co-packaged optics. And this is where these compact, high, new functionality type of meta optics can really be a game changer for data centers.
Now, can you kind of tell us sort of the limitations and potentials of this technology? Like, are there certain types of meta lenses that this method wouldn't be able to support? And are there others that might take some time to kind of figure out?
Yeah, yes, there are. So meta lenses, the one downside, there are many advantages to meta lenses, and there are many markets where those advantages create large economic opportunity for us. The challenge of meta lenses, all optics have what's called chromatic dispersion. and that is effectively in a lens. If there's low chromatic dispersion, all the different colors in or wavelengths of light are focused the same. If you have high chromatic dispersion, then they are focused to a different spot. And when you have chromatic dispersion, it creates color blur. So all the colors in an image do not overlap correctly. Um, in metalenses, which are diffractive, there is higher chromatic dispersion. So currently, the mainstream cameras that operate in broadband, so full color imaging cameras, are more of a challenge. And there are ways to resolve that. But currently, the mainstream uses for the meta optics are really in narrowband or monochromatic applications such as IR cameras, facial recognition systems, rangefinders like LiDAR systems in automotive use cases. And that's where the market is commercializing right now because the advantages are immediate and the technology is mature and ready for deployment. Later, we would expect metalenses to find creative ways to solve the chromatic dispersion problems, but certainly our customer base right now is more focused on the monochromatic applications.
Now, where are you guys in terms of the process of commercialization? Uh, I think I heard you mention that you guys are looking at a site in Pittsfield, and I think we've actually reported on that. Do you have
Yeah,
the equipment? What are the next steps?
yeah, no, another good question. So, Myrias is currently production ready at 200 millimeter wafer size. I talked at the beginning of the of this about the need to go to larger substrates and get more components on those substrates to improve the economy of scale. Um, 200 millimeter or 8-inch wafers are certainly large enough right now for us in the meta optics space. We are working with a partner, which is one of the larger manufacturers of imprint tools. They have a production clean room facility that we rent space in, and that gives us about 5,000 wafer year per year capacity right now on that 200 millimeter platform. So all of our Metalens products are coming off of that production line. But looking down the road, we see the need to scale and are working with the Berkshire Innovation Center out in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. This is a incubator to bring in interesting new companies into the region, and through both state and local funding, we've raised a significant amount of capital to build a new facility in Pittsfield. We're in the planning stages to kick off the construction of the building and the clean room, where we'll be installing the tool sets that will give us a capacity that will increase from 5,000 wafers per year to 40,000 wafers per year. And the plans are to get that facility kicked off and open hopefully around Q1 of next year, assuming that the construction plans and equipment orders go as planned. Now, if I can also comment on the AR waveguide sides, they're significantly larger. For a typical meta optic, we'll get 1,000 to 2,000 per 200 millimeter wafer. In AR waveguides, you get 10. So the tool set that you need just to do the imprint work is significantly larger by an order of magnitude. And then there's additional back-end processing tools that we don't need for meta optics. So in that space, we've taken the approach of partnering with the large contract manufacturers that have been supplying the OEMs in the AR space for many years. There's a large installed tool base, and as I mentioned, we can convert that very quickly to our material set. And we've been doing that with two lead partners. So we're currently imprinting waveguides for our AR customers through those two partnerships. And we have 6 additional partnerships that we're kicking off with folks which are globally located in Europe, US, and Asia.
And we'll be neighbors once you guys move into the Pittsfield location. We'll have to stop by for a visit.
Yeah, no, we'd love to have you come by. The Berkshire Innovation Center is obviously always happy to have folks come through. We're not the only company there. It is an incubator, and they have a number of tenant companies right now. We're happy to be joining that network. And further happy about the location. If you look at what they call the Photonics corridor, it runs from roughly Boston through to Rochester, and Pittsfield happens to be right in the center of that. So it's a great location for us. We have access to all of the great company supply chain ecosystem that goes all the way east to Boston, and then all the way out to Rochester, which is the photonics capital of the U.S. So great location for us to be, and we're happy to be your neighbor shortly.
With that, we conclude another episode of All Things Photonics. Thank you to our sponsors, to the technical staff behind the scenes, and to continued support from the Photonics Media editorial team. As always, questions, comments, thoughts, and ideas are welcome. Let us know how we're doing via email at allthings@photonics.com. All Things Photonics is available on all major platforms and on our website, photonics.com.